welcome back to our video, and today we're going to be doing something slightly different from what we usually do, right? We're going to go through the history of AI and how we went from research papers that nobody reads to something that, half a billion people use every day, right? In just about 2 to 3 years, right? So, first of all, let's start off with the timeline, right? So, AI didn't just begin in 2022, right? It's been around for decades. But the modern era, right, the one that really matters to us, started in just about 2017, right? And there was this specific research paper, right, that I had to read while I was in college, right, called "Attention is All You Need," right? And it introduced something called the transformer architecture, right? And this is the foundation of every AI model that we use today, right? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama, all of them, they are built on transformers, right? But before transformers, AI struggled with long text. It couldn't keep track of context, but the transformers solved this with something called attention, right? And attention is simply the ability to look at all parts of an input at once. So not just the last few words, not just the first couple, but the whole scope all at one go, right? And OpenAI specifically, they were the first to start scaling it up, right? So GPT-1 launched in 2018 and it had roughly over 100 million parameters, right? It could finish sentences, but nobody noticed, right? GPT-2 came in, it had 1.5 billion parameters. OpenAI actually refused to release it up, first saying it was too dangerous. But it could write paragraphs that sounded human, but it was still at a curiosity stage, right? GPT-3 with 175 billion parameters, this was the real breakthrough. It was 100 times bigger than GPT-2, and it could write essays, generate code, and follow more complex instructions. But here's the thing, it was API only, and you had to be a developer to use it. The general public still had no idea that it existed, and if they did, they wouldn't know how to integrate with it as well. So let's go to 2022, right? And this is where the AI went from a tech industry to a global phenom, right? So in April, OpenAI released DALI E, and it was simply just an AI that can create images from text descriptions, right? Something simple like a cat riding a skateboard, right? Became a meme. And this, for the first time, regular people saw what AI could do with images. Then, a couple months later, Stable Diffusion was launched, right? And this was an open source project where anyone could download it and run it on their computer, and it sparked the entire AI art debate that's still going on now. Then we go to November. ChatGPT was launched, and this was the clicking moment, right? So ChatGPT was basically 3.5 with a chat interface, right? The underlying technology wasn't dramatically different from GPT-3, which has been around for almost 2 years, right? What changed was the interface, right? Instead of an API that only developers can use, anyone could go onto a website and type a question. It had 1 million users in 5 days, then 100 million in 2 months, right? It's till now, till this day, it is the fastest growing consumer application in history, faster than TikTok, Instagram, anything else that we can imagine now in our modern era, right? So let's take ourselves to 2023, right? And bear in mind, I was in college at this time as well. And I was one of the first users of ChatGPT back in November of 2022, right? When I was still studying my undergrad in computer science. So in 2023, right, we kind of had an arms race. So it was pure chaos. Every major tech company was scrambling to compete, right? Google launched Bard, right, which they now call Gemini. I remember back then when we were calling it Bard, right? The launch was quite rough. During the demo, it made an error, right? Live error about the James Webb Space Telescope, right? Then Google's stock dropped quite a bit, right? So the stakes were pretty high, right? Pretty high at the time. Then we had later in March, OpenAI released GPT-4, and it was a huge leap, right? It could pass bar exams, right? It scored in the 90th percentile in the SATs. It could understand and interpret images, not just text now, right? Complex code and reason across multi-step problems, right? Then we had Anthropic launch Claude, right? And this was actually founded by an ex OpenAI researcher who left OpenAI due to safety concerns, right? And Claude wanted to take a different approach, right? They wanted to focus on being helpful, harmless, and honest. And it became the number one alternative to ChatGPT, right? Then in July, Meta open sourced Llama 2, and this is huge, right? A powerful AI model that anyone could download, modify, and run for free, right? Um, During this time, I was working as a software engineer in an internship, and we actually, were testing and operating with Llama, literally the months it came out, right? And the best part about it was free, right? And this changed the economics of AI overnight, right? You didn't need to pay specifically to, tinker around with all these different AI models. You can have it running locally, right? Then in November we had GPT-4 Turbo, right? And it had a huge context window for the time. It was about 128, right? We had custom GPTs where we can build our own AI assistants without writing a piece of code, right? So OpenAI were trying to do something like to become an app store for AI specifically, right? So now we jump over to 2024 to 2025, right? And this is where AI moved from chatbots to agents, right? And this is huge, right? It's still huge to this day, right? And AI doesn't just answer questions, but it can actually take action as well, right? So in early 2024 February, right, Google released Gemini 1.5 Pro, and it had over a million token context window. And to put that into a little bit of perspective, right, GPT-3 could handle 4,000 tokens, and now you could feed an entire code base or a full book into a single prompt, right? 2 months later, Meta released Llama 3 in three sizes, right? 8 billion parameters, 70 billion, and then 405 billion parameters. The 8 billion parameter model can run locally on a laptop, and the open source had officially caught up to closed models in quality, right? Which was insane at the time. Next, in June, Anthropic released Claude 3.5 Sonnet, right? And it beats GPT-4 in the most powerful benchmarks at a lower cost, right? And it became one of the, most go to model for coding and complex reasoning. Then November 2024, Anthropic open sourced MCPs, right? Which is insane now till this day. So MCPs, I don't know if you've seen my previous video, but I'll give a very brief overview. It simply stands for Model Context Protocol, and it essentially standardized how AI models connect to tools. So any model can use any tool through a common interface, right? And if you haven't seen my video on episode 3 on the USB for AI, please check it out and it'll give a little bit more scope into the real and true power of MCP servers. So next, we go over to 2025, right? We entered the agent era, right? So AI moved from just answering questions to taking actions, right? So agents can browse the web, write code, and deploy softwares, and operate on multiple systems at a go, right? And this is where we are right now. So just to show a few numbers, right? It's quite huge, right? So in terms of parameter growth, GPT-2 had 1.5 billion, and then GPT-3 jumped to 175 billion, right? And then now GPT-4 is estimated to be at 1.8 trillion, right? So we can see thousand-fold increases in 4 years. Then in terms of context window, GPT-3 could handle 4,000 tokens. Turbo went to 128,000. Gemini hit 1 million. And then you went from being able to paste pretty much just a few paragraphs to feeding entire books, right, into these models. And in terms of user growth, ChatGPT hit 1 million users in the first week. Like I said before, 100 million in 2 months, and then over 300 million by 2025, right? No technology in history has been adopted this fast. So, why is this important and what should we take away from it, right? The Transformer paper in 2017 made everything possible, right? Without attention is all you need. None of this would actually exist or exist for a very long time. ChatGPT didn't invent AI, right? It gave AI a chat interface, right? The technology existed for 2 years before the public actually noticed, right? The real breakthroughs were in three things: scale, making these models bigger, and making them follow instructions better. Then the open source part as well, right? Making the AI accessible to anyone to tinker around and experiment, right? So context windows went from 4,000 to millions in only a short span of 3 years. right? And the biggest shift is still happening right now, right? From chatbots to agents, right? So AI that doesn't just talk, but it makes actions as well. So that's pretty much the AI timeline and where we are now in 2026. And it'll be very interesting to see where it goes over the next 4 or 5 years, right? Thanks for watching AI Explained, and hope to catch you in the next video.